to RSM, Ashwin.
Thank you, Jess.
Tell us about your career to date and what took you down your career path.
23 years of doing this now. So funnily enough, I actually started as a grad at PwC and New Zealand, and then moved across to the largest integrator in New Zealand, moved with them to Australia, and then DD, and then Unisys in an Asia Pac role, and here I am.
And so you started your career at RSM after 5 years at Unisys as a director of Asia Pacific, is that right?
Correct.
What drew you to RSM and the professional services firm?
A couple of things. One was obviously, starting off at PwC, as to say, you can take the boy out of the firm, you can never take the firm out of the boy. So I had to, complete the circle, so to speak. But the other thing obviously was with RSM in particular, the focus on mid-market as well as the culture. I think that was actually quite important. Not really a Big Four kind of guy, so RSM suited me perfectly.
Ashwin, what are some of the misconceptions that people have around the cybersecurity space? And also, I suppose, what are the qualities that are required for a good cybersecurity advisor?
Well, the sky's not falling, because you hear that a lot in cybersecurity. And look, I mean, it's understandable that a lot of things have happened in cyber which aren't necessarily great, and cyber is actually one of those areas where you are usually, not always, but usually sort of giving clients some very interesting news. But at the end of the day, as with anything, when it comes to risk management, the sky's not falling. It's actually about understanding and managing the risk. And in terms of good qualities about a cyber person, it's really, to me, frankly, cyber is actually about having the right mindset, right? And what we found is obviously there's a huge skills shortage in cyber globally. And what we actually found was getting people, for example, out of the police force or the armed forces was actually much easier to do, and training them with the basics of cyber than the other way around, because they already have that mindset, investigative, really actually trying to, find what's gone wrong and then trying to fix it. It's really about having that type of mindset more than anything else.
Pretty interesting work in CR, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess also with 23 years, what's one of your proudest, or what's some of your proudest achievements in your career, or where you've got really good positive outcome for a client that you're happy to share?
Look, I mean, I think probably there are a couple of things that come to mind. One of the biggest standout things for me was when I was actually at Unisys, and we actually had the Invictus Games in Sydney. So we provided all the IT, and my team actually provided all of the cybersecurity behind the Invictus Games. Now, that on its own doesn't sound, it was exciting on its own, but it's actually a charitable event. So I was basically given no budget, and I had 6 weeks. And I knew it was actually a high-profile event because obviously you've actually got soldiers from other countries. There are other countries where they were fighting that would like to disrupt the events.
Yep.
So we actually had that challenge.
Super interesting.
Yep. We secured it, and we had 0 security incidents. 0.
Commonwealth Games next, Olympic Games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So in terms of RSM and RSM's values, which of your values would you say align with RSM?
Well, there are a couple of things. I think there's the client centricity part, which I think is really important, as well as the ethical culture that we actually have within RSM. I think as a cyber person, that's quite important. Obviously, ethics and cyber, funny that. Working within a firm that actually values that quite highly is important for me personally, as well as my clients.
And I suppose going back to your career path, what, I suppose in terms of the opportunities you've sought or been offered, what type of questions have you asked yourself before determining if that's the right opportunity for you?
Well, it's all about, a couple of things really. It's, do I fit in the organisation? That's quite important, because you don't want to be a square peg in a round hole, because it's just not going to last. And, is it taking me where I actually want? Is it going to align with my values? I think those are the key things, because if you find a place where you can fit in, where the opportunity actually aligns with where you want to go, I think the decision becomes pretty simple.
Ashwin, you've worked with and built and led many diverse teams over the years. What, in terms of this post-COVID era and remote working, what would you say is your main focus in terms of building teams and having cohesion and driving cultural collaboration?
I think it's a mindset change, right? And frankly, I had the luxury of leading very diverse teams. So I actually had team members all the way from New Zealand through to India when I was actually at Unisys. So remotely working.
It's not new for you.
No, I didn't have an option, right? So
was that because of the skill sets not being here, or just because you wanted a diverse team of different skill sets from different countries?
And footprint as well. Because we had offices and clients all across Asia Pac. So having them all in the one office just wasn't actually an option. So we had to. At the end of the day, what you got to do is make sure that you're actually having that collaboration between the team on a regular basis. The way you do it doesn't really matter. It has to be, can be face to face. It could be over computers now, as we actually do it remotely. So the key thing is that collaboration that you actually need to have, and having that culture of working together as a team. And whether it's remote or face to face, it honestly doesn't matter. So when we moved to remote, it was frankly more of the same for us.
Yeah, and also talking about teams and leading teams and team building, I guess give us an insight into what your leadership style is like.
So one of the lines that I actually often use is everybody works with me, nobody works for me. And I think that pretty much sort of dictates the culture we actually have within the team. So, it's all about working together. It's all about customer centricity and being humble as you actually go about doing what you actually do. It's all of these things, it's being ethical. At the end of the day, we promote a very strong culture within the team itself. What we stand for, what do we actually want to achieve, and that the team basically collectively gets together to actually drive that culture through.
Drive success and results, I imagine.
Exactly.